Deep beneath the mountains of earth, winter pressed heavy on the land. A great brown bear had dug into the rock and earth, curling into the darkness of his den. His flanks were thick with fat, his muscles heavy with strength. The season of sleep had begun. Already, his body slowed, his mind sinking into the strange drifting dreams of hibernation. That was when the light came. Silent and cold, it lanced into the cavern, probing, tasting. A ripple of alien energy touched the bear's fur, and before his lungs could finish a breath, he was gone. The bear awoke with a snarl. Stone dust clung to his fur, the air sharp with scents he did not know. He blinked, disoriented, as strange cries rose all around him. Tier upon tier of creatures loomed overhead, their faces bizarre and hungry. Lights glared down, too bright, too hot. He rose on his hind legs, bellowing and furious. The sound echoed through the vaulted chamber. The crowd howled back, eager, not afraid. From the opposite end of the ring his opponent emerged. It was a scorpion, but no desert scorpion of earth. This beast was enormous, its armored body glittering like obsidian, claws clicking with the sound of breaking stone. Its stinger arched high, dripping with venom that smoked when it touched the sand. The gamblers roared approval. Streams of light symbols danced above them, shifting odds, wagers placed in alien currencies. To them, this was nothing more than sport. The scorpion struck first, attempting to drive its huge stinger into the bear's back. What the fight makers hadn't considered was that they had taken the bear at the height of its weight and strength. It had gained hundreds of pounds, and the scorpion's stinger, though driven hard and with precision, didn't penetrate the bear's hide, but it did have an effect. It let the bear know he was in a fight. With a thunderous bellow, he hurled himself forward, claws and teeth ripping until the scorpion collapsed in a twitching heap. The bear stood panting, foam flecking his jaws, eyes wild. He had not fought for their entertainment. He had fought because he was alive. Because he was ticked off. Above the ring, the alien masters conferred in harsh voices. This beast from Earth was dangerous, valuable. Too dangerous to keep, too valuable to discard. Mark it, one commanded. A drone descended, humming, and fired a thin bolt of light into the bear's shoulder. But as the tracer laced itself into his flesh, the drone chirped in confusion. There was already a foreign tag buried deep in his muscle. The aliens magnified the readings. A crude design, primitive, electromagnetic, fitted long ago by human hands. A researcher's mark, placed so men in white coats could track his migrations, study his growth, learn his habits. The alien overseer gave a rasping laugh. Even on his own world, he is property. The new tracer burned brighter, overlaying the old. Now the bear bore the marks of two masters, neither of which he understood. The crowd roared as the bear vanished in a column of light. Darkness. Cold stone. The familiar scent of earth and pine needles. The bear stumbled, confused, inside his own cave once more. For a long while he growled and paced, sides heaving, every nerve still alive with fury. He did not understand what had happened, only that his dreams had been torn apart and his sleep stolen. At last, exhaustion overcame him. His breath slowed, his heavy body settled into the hollow of his den. Slowly, carefully his eyes closed. Sleep returned. As spring arrived, park biologists were making their rounds and had chosen the bear for a checkup. Snow still clung in ragged bands beneath the pines when Sarah Jennings spotted the melt-dark tracks angling toward the creek. "Ease up," she whispered, tipping her hat back and squinting across the sunlit slope. Mark Walker scanned with the telemetry receiver. The handheld chirped, 3 crisp pips in a row, their bear's unique cadence. "Signal's clean, he's moving slow. Coming out of the den, 2 ridges over." They moved quietly, the way you learn when your job is equal parts kindness and caution. On the far side of a blowdown, the big brown shape stood beside a tangle of alder. He was heavier even than last year, a shaggy mountain with winter still in his coat. He pawed the earth, sniffed the thaw. Sarah set the dart rifle against her shoulder and breathed out. 2 milligrams per kilo, she murmured. "He's bigger." Bumped the dose. Mark handed over the prepped dart. "Wind's good, take the shoulder." The pop of the rifle was soft as a cough. The dart struck high on the muscle. The bear flinched, turned, woofed a warning, and then, as the drug found his blood, he sagged back onto his haunches. Within minutes, he was deep enough that Sarah could approach, calling out as she came, "Hey, big guy. Easy, we've got you." They worked with gentle efficiency. Mouth check, tongue color, corneal reflex. They counted breaths, the slow bellows of a chest that knew winter. Mark clipped a pulse ox on a lip. The tiny screen glowed green. Sarah shaved a small patch near last year's tag site and slid in the microchip reader. It chirped right away. Their number, the one she could recite in her sleep. "Tag's still there," she said. "Let's check the caller logs." Mark scrolled through GPS points on the tablet, frowning. "Weird gaps midwinter," he said. "Like the caller slept deeper than he did. Could be snowpack. Could be he tucked himself under rock." Sarah said. She turned the reader again, more out of habit than hope, sweeping wider across the shoulder. It chirped a second time. Both of them looked up. "That's not ours," Mark said. Sarah rescanned slower. A second ID refused to populate on the screen, a raw tone like the device didn't know how to talk to it. "No protocol. It's just pinging," she said. They exchanged the look you give when the world tilts half a degree. "Could be a poacher," Mark offered. "Too quickly?" "Somebody illegal tagging to track movement." Sarah shook her head. "Poachers don't bury hardware this deep, and they sure don't broadcast on whatever that is." She set the reader aside and palpated gently along the muscle. Under thick hide and fat, her fingertips found a subtle rise. Not a burr, not scar tissue. A pebble that didn't belong. "Let's image it." Mark already had the pack open. The park vet had lent them a portable unit last season for a moose cow with a bullet embedded in the brisket. Mark slid the panel beneath the shoulder, while Sarah cradled the bear's massive leg. The X-ray ghosted onto the tablet. Bone, muscle, the neat rice grain of their microchip, and a second object, a smooth ovoid smaller than a thumb tip, nested like a seed where no seed could grow. No barbs, no metal artifacts, edges too clean. "Ceramic?" Mark said. "Or something like it." Sarah zoomed in. The thing had microstriations like topographic lines. At its heart, a dark core, star-shaped as if ink had burst inside glass. "Okay," she said softly, "we call it in." "To who?" Mark's laugh was a whisper, not really funny. "Wildlife Services? Hey, we found a space egg in a bear?" "I'm still thinking new poacher tech," said Mark. "If you have money, you can get anything." He made a tiny slice to expose the tag. Then he slipped sterile forceps under it. It lifted without resistance, warm from the bear as if it had a pulse of its own. Mark held it to the light, expecting some hidden marking, a serial number, a joke. Nothing, just his face warped in its curve. "Whatever you are," he said, "you're not his." He glanced right and left, the empty creek, the hum of thaw. Then, with the same farm boy motion he'd once used to chuck a stone off a fence post, he turned and flung the tag into the brush. It passed through some alder branches and vanished with a small, satisfied thud. Sarah rolled her eyes, cleaned the pocket, closed and glued and taped, smoothed her palm along the bear's shoulder. She dusted the hide with coagulant, gave the reversal, and backed away as the giant blinked himself back to his own life. Later that evening, under the alder where Mark's throw had ended, an opossum shuffled in on pink fingers like little stars. It sniffed a constellation of scents, mud, thaw, bear, blood, and found the Fightmaster's tag, wet and tangy. The opossum hauled it up with those clever hands, tried a bite, found the slickness not to its liking, then solved the problem the way opossums solve everything. By committing. A grotesque, heroic swallow, a huff, a gulp. The belly accepted the new tag the way it accepted everything a possum could find. The possum belched, unconcerned, and tottered off into the honest business of the night. Light rayed across the underside of a velvet black ship. The Fightmaster stood at the rail of the scrying well and tapped a claw against the slate. "Earth bear asset," he said. "The big one we tagged. Prime time. Bring that beast in." He went to the mic and made the announcement. Odds started streaming. Fans remembered the bear-scorpion match. You could hear money in the air if you'd learned how. A lithe technician, 4 eyes, 2 pens tucked behind one ear, sang out, "Locking to tracer, signal strong." He looked pleased to have something as crude as an earth bear on the card, with razor-penned war mites and glass eels. The chorus of bettors rose. "Bring him," the Fightmaster said. The beam cut. The scrying well bloomed with dust and cold. Something small and gray tumbled into the hard white light of the arena floor, landed on all fours, blinked up at a million impossible faces, and then, overwhelmed by the brightness, the noise, and the size and scope of the situation, simply fell over. The possum hit the sand with a soft plop and lay there like a dropped mitten. Silence. like someone had held the ship's breath. Then the laughter came, like a dam breaking. Tier upon tier of aliens howled, whistled, shrieked. Wagers fluttered dead. Someone somewhere sprayed their drink across the back of a lizard duke. A noble's monocle, or whatever the equivalent was, fell and shattered. Down on the floor, the opossum twitched one pink ear and continued to be very, very unconscious. The fightmaster stared. Slowly he pinched the bridge of his ridged nose and closed his eyes as if savoring the purest fatigue. He didn't even look at the technician when he said, "Flat as a coin. Send it back." "But what about the marker?" the assistant ventured, ears flattening. "If we—" "That rat thing is gonna poop the tag out," the fightmaster said, opening his eyes to the roaring gallery. "I don't want it back." A new wave of laughter crashed through the tiers. A few bettors tried, valiantly and then not at all, to argue their slips into relevance. The soul of the casino shrugged and moved on. The beam lifted the opossum, limp as a sleeping child, and the arena floor regained its sterile gleam. "Rebuild the card," the fightmaster said, "and next time lock to the living mass, not just the ping." He gestured toward the well, where a faint smear of earth forest still hung like breath on glass. "Learn to smell the difference." "Yes, sir," the technician said, trying to type contrition. The possum rematerialized in the same meadow from where it was taken as if it had always been there. It woke with a small, offended hiss, adjusted its expectations of reality downward, and waddled deeper into the brush to find something less theatrical to do. Later that day, as foretold by prognosticators everywhere, the possum passed the tag along the old-fashioned way. Upstream, a great bear shook creek water from his chin and lumbered toward the dark ribbon of his denning slope, shoulder tidy under fresh tape. The caller pinged the same calm cadence as always. Under pine and rock, under stars he couldn't name and would never need to, he was simply a bear again. And the fightmaster searched another planet for another contender.